Can the cloud break? Find out today on Cyber Sentinel. Hi, I'm Alan Adcock. I am CEO of ASC Group. We're a cybersecurity firm based here in Atlanta, Georgia. Welcome to Cyber Sentinel, where we talk about ways to keep your network and company safe online. So let's get started with the first questions.
I moved my critical application to the cloud, and now I can't access it. What can I do?
There's a big push in the industry to move applications to cloud services, and occasionally this doesn't work out like you expect. Right now, there are some applications that are offline due to cyber attacks. Early in the days of cloud services, there were a whole bunch of vendors jumping into that space. Some were not as capitalized well as others, so you had a lot of shaking out in that industry. We had a couple of different times where we would find out that a company had moved a service or an application to a cloud provider, and that cloud provider went out of business. So at that point, you've got to try to figure out if there's a way to recover your data. So it's best to try to do a little more research going into that cloud service to find out, how do you get a copy of your data? Can you get it? How do you back that thing up? Is the company viable? Are they going to make it? So there's a lot of homework that needs to be done there. You know, the cloud kind of has a reputation for set it and forget it. You just outsource all that responsibility for your application to somebody else. Keep in mind, all the cloud is a computer that's owned by somebody else.
My email is super important. Is it safe now that I moved it to a cloud server?
Email is one of those universal applications that's pretty critical to business. Even though there's an explosion of other messaging applications and ways to communicate through the smartphones and all that kind of thing with the different apps, for business, email still rules. Today's expectation is email is available 24/7 on any device, anywhere in the world. And for the most part, that works. You know, everybody wants that messaging on their mobile devices as well. So, you know, used to be business only ran during the days. Nowadays, it's pretty much 24/7. What we've found is back, you know, when we started doing this 20 years ago, every organization had a mail server on site. Over time, you know, those things cost a lot of money to the organization. So you've got hardware refreshes every 3 to 5 years. You got software improvements. You got to upgrade the operating system, upgrade the mail software version. We're a big Exchange shop, so we did a lot of Microsoft Exchange work. And each version of Exchange that comes out, it seems like it's more and more complicated to do the migrations from one to the next. Today, what most companies are doing is they're taking and moving that Exchange infrastructure out of the office and putting it into the cloud. We're big Microsoft Office 365 guys, so we like the 365 platform now. It's very stable. The earlier versions called BPOS, not so much. So we waited kind of till they ironed this thing out. But today it works really well. There's other mail hosts that we use for different applications depending upon what the client need is, but predominantly Office 365 meets the needs of most organizations. Now, you can't just throw all your mail infrastructure into 365 and forget it. Important features that need to be set up in 365 to ensure that it runs securely and safely. The first thing we got to look at is the security settings. 365 has got checklist after checklist of things that we need to prepare for the environment to be secure. Things like multi-factor authentication, lots of other security settings on how the messaging system communicates. The other thing that people often overlook is that Microsoft recommends a third-party backup of your data in the 365 environment. We have applications that we use. We actually back up the Microsoft cloud to another cloud, and we do our archiving through that other application as well. There's really an ecosystem of applications that sits around the Office 365 mail infrastructure that we can use to increase the security of it, increase your archiving capabilities, create that third-party location for the backup, and extend the functionality as well if you need extra functionality in that 365 environment.
Now that I'm moving my data to a cloud provider, do I need to do anything, or is that for my cloud provider to handle?
Yeah, so in a perfect world, once you've moved your application or your data to a cloud provider, you want them to just deal with it, right? You want it off your plate. It's not in your office anymore. You're paying somebody else to manage that, but it doesn't always work out that way. You've got to pay attention to this stuff. We've got an event going right now. There's a large cloud provider called InSync that has been offline for over a week as of right now because of a ransomware attack. So ransomware does not just affect small business. It obviously affects large business, as you see in the news. It affects government agencies, as you see in the news. Well, it also affects large IT companies, and cloud providers are not immune. In this case, InSync got hit by a ransomware called Megacortex. Megacortex is run by a gang that targets large institutions primarily. So they've gotten in, they were able to infiltrate that cloud provider systems and shut them down. So the InSync team is currently working on trying to restore the thousands of servers in their hosting environment. This is going to take a while. So anybody whose data and applications are hosted there are going to have to wait until this process is complete. There's been some criticism of them. They haven't been communicating the status very well. You know, there's some lessons to be learned there. But it's a tough environment for them right now. So the best thing to do is just be patient. They're going to restore everything they can, and then you're going to have to see if your data was compromised beyond that. It's important too that when you look at your moving stuff to the cloud, is you got to figure out where it's stored. So there's a lot of people who use QuickBooks. QuickBooks is one of those universal applications for small business. QuickBooks can be hosted locally or it can be hosted in the cloud. In this case, there's a large QuickBooks cloud provider that uses InSync as their back end. So all that QuickBooks data is offline as well. So you may not know exactly where your data is stored. You may sign up with one provider and it actually may be using a backend of somebody else. In this case, you're just gonna have to wait, see if your data can get restored. Moving forward, we recommend setting up backups of that data. So you're gonna actually run off the cloud copy and then back up locally or back up to another cloud. We've set these systems up for numerous clients of ours to back up data out of their cloud instances. There's a lot of different ways to do this. So if you have questions about that, reach out to us and we can help you with that. So that's all the questions we've got today on cloud security. Reach out to us online at ASC Group or find us at #Cyber Sentinel. If you have questions on cybersecurity or networking that you'd like for us to address in a future episode, send those to us and we'll make sure we add them to the future episodes.